since I know, but I had to request to join and I was on it right away, buddy. What's happening, PB?
Not much. How are you?
I'm good. I got to see you in person not too long ago.
Yeah, it was weird, eh?
It was very weird. It was very weird. It's good to see people. It's good to see
Yeah.
people, you know? That's the one thing with this COVID, especially with social media, you know, you still get to see people, you know, they're still doing their thing. It's just you don't get to see them live in person. And I got to see my buddy PB. So that was nice.
Yeah. You know what? I had a few lovely messages from agents, great agents in the area yesterday that they enjoy this thing and checking it out every last Friday. And I think that's a byproduct, not necessarily of how brilliant we are. I think it's a byproduct of the fact, like, look at the last 18 months. It's been, you want to show a place, you click. You want to submit an offer, you click, you DocuSign. You feedback, you click buttons. You want to book a showing, like everything is just click, apps, computer. And prior to that, you got to turn down a little bit. And prior to that, well, even back before all this broker-based stuff, I used to call and chat with the front desk people at LePage or Remax or wherever it was, and you knew them all. And then remember when you used to present an offer to the sellers at the dining room table with the seller agent, and all the other buyer agents are in their cars out front. Does that come back, do you think?
Does that come back?
Yeah.
I think it will in certain cases. I think if it opens up, and I'm the kind of guy that I like to give people the opportunity to present if possible. It's a little different story, I think, if you're going to get 30, 40 offers or whatever. But I think we can all agree that ship has sailed, you know, and you're still getting some multiple offers, but definitely the tides are definitely turning for the favor of all of us.
Yeah, I'm not sure how quickly that presenting to the seller at their dining room table is going to come back. I love it with like one offer. I love that, because then you can all have a dialogue as adults about who the buyer is, what the background is, you know, all this sort of stuff. But I'm not sure how quickly that comes back.
What about open houses, buddy? What about open houses?
Okay, all you agents that are in this, who wants to do who's looking to get back to open houses right away? I don't know. They're clearly not needed, because March and April just set the highest number of sales in the history of Niagara for any month ever, first and second place, and there wasn't an open house done. So are they needed?
Yeah, but that's for this market. I think that will change. I think.
And
there'll be people who want to do them. There'll be people who do them. It's a great opportunity for business. It's a great opportunity for exposure, you know, so.
Yep. You're right. In a buyer's market, it's a different story.
Yep. Yeah.
And we will have another buyer's market one day.
Oh, we will. Yeah. We will. I'm a little, we'll see what happens next year, Pat. I mean, if the economy starts rocking and rolling and interest rates go up, that will change the game, man. Mm-hmm. This whole level of affordability with where the prices have gone, people aren't going to be able to go quite as high. Their buying power is going to be definitely dissipated for sure, you know, because if you were approved at 1.79 and now all of a sudden you're up to 3%, that's going to, you know, that $800,000 house you were looking for, you're going to have to settle for a $700,000 house. And that's going to change the whole perspective of the market. But we'll see. We're not quite there yet, but there's definitely some changes going on for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
So give us your, we've typically opened up with you ranting about inappropriate pricing, but I think that's lessened, right?
Hey, listen, I have to say, and it's funny how a market can just start to teach everybody. But yes, no, I am actually very ecstatic to see the way the pricing is. I completely understand that there's certain properties that, you know what, you just kind of have to underprice, kind of like that grubby little fixer-upper that you can pretty much put out at whatever price and you're going to get multiple offers. There's other properties that are in certain specific neighborhoods. You have a pool, you're going to get multiple offers. But again, you're not getting 20, 30 offers. You're getting 3, 4, 5 offers, you know. I think what we're dealing with too is a little bit of the tail end of some people who are still caught up in it. that, still have lost out. And they're still kind of going guns a-blazing. But I think a lot of the buyers out there are starting to definitely get a little reserved. So pricing is good. I think everyone's starting to learn that the market has changed. I'm seeing a lot less fold offers, a lot more offers anytime with a 48-hour irrevocable, which I think that's the play. I think it's going to go back to the way summer was last year. Mm-hmm. Summer last year, certain properties garnering multiple offers, and others, if you price it right, prepare your seller's expectations. And again, you and I both agree, we have to prepare expectations because it's tough with the sellers right now. I ran into a couple challenges myself where, you're priced here, they're expecting up there. And so now the play is price it higher and let the market determine where it's going to kind of go from there. So overall pricing is looking pretty good. There's opportunities now out there for buyers. But again, sellers also have an opportunity. Yes, your property's not going to sell in 3 days for $80,000 over the asking price. But guess what? Your property is going to sell within 10 days within $10,000 to $20,000 of your asking price, which is still good. And it's all relative. If you're selling, you're buying, then hey, sure, you're not getting the crazy, but you're not spending the crazy either. So everyone's got to kind of realize that. Sure, some sellers are a little upset because if they don't have to buy, they're not getting those big numbers. But as far as I'm concerned, and I think everyone can agree, they're still putting a good chunk of change in their pocket.
Yeah, the one thing we talked about before too, and I don't know if I agree with myself 30 days ago anymore, was once the lockdown comes, the speculation was how many people that want to sell or buy or both are on the sidelines because of lockdown, and are we going to see this explosion after lockdown? I no longer think that. I think people that want to sell are selling. There's going to be a small percentage that haven't, but I think people that want to sell are selling, and people that want to buy are buying. As opposed to previous lockdowns, which suppressed everything. I think now the suppression isn't working, and now people are just they're doing what they got to do. So I don't think we're going to see that big bump. And I think, like you said, we're going to see a more typical summer.
Yep, I agree. I think there's a couple factors for all of that as well. Is that number one, Pat? I don't know about you, but we had some pretty sweet weather the past 10 days for May.
I kind of noticed.
I don't know about you, but I really didn't want to do too much. I personally think a lot of people have spent the last year at home, eyeing up the internet, staring at houses, realizing if they want to buy, they can go out and buy. Sellers realize, okay, you know what, we can sell in these lockdowns now. So I think I'm in agreement with you that business is just happening. People who are buying and selling real estate are not waiting for the lockdown anymore. I'm not anticipating a crazy surge demand like we had last year. We may get a smidge of additional demand, but I really do think, Pat, once the nice weather comes, people and restrictions are lifted, people are going to just want to enjoy the nice weather and take a little bit of a time out. So,
and we talked about this, and I was talking to a few people in my office. It feels like a lot of people, and rightfully so, are tired, right? And I think tired from there's this emotional stress where you want to get somewhere but you can't, whether it's physically somewhere or with somebody or to visit, whether it's grandkids or grandparents or whatever. And I think that wear and tear eventually catches up, and then as soon as there's the opportunity to do anything that's human, then everything else gets pushed to the side. And I think that's this summer is everybody's going to earn whatever R&R that they can get, or family time, or whatever it is, because good God, we've gone through a serious run, right? And so there is a mental fatigue too, where it's challenging out there.
It is, for sure. I think there's numerous factors kind of creating this bit of a curve. Number one, yes, there's inventory starting to come out. Prices are not being so low. Prices are being raised, which is partly pushing some of the buyers just right out of the market. 100% buyer fatigue is setting in. They're just exhausted. They're taking a time out. The weather's nicer. Who knows, come fall, could we get another little start of a new market again? once everyone's had an opportunity to join the nice weather. We don't know, but interest rates have slightly increased as well. I know a buyer who was approved at 1.78 6 months ago. He's now at 2.2. The stress test coming as well. You know, the stress test, it's not significant, Pat, what the stress test.
Do you want to do a summary of it, or do you want me to?
You do a summary, please.
So the earlier thought was it was going to be only for 20% or more, so uninsured buyers, but now it's for everybody. And so whether you qualify, you might qualify at 2%, but currently the stress test is at 4.79, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And it's going to bump to 5.25%, well, effectively tomorrow. And so, and the whole idea with it is, sure, get a rate down here, but if mortgage rates start to improve, they want to know that people can handle that increase as far as weighing it against their income and life costs and all that good stuff. So it affects 4% of affordability, 4.5, something like that. So if you're qualified to 500 grand, well, now you're qualified to 500 grand less 4%, which would be 480, is roughly the story. That's where my knowledge stream ends, and I kindly refer you over to a mortgage broker.
Well, but I think that was a very good explanation of it. Really what it's going to end up doing is what you said. It's going to reduce everyone's buying power a little bit. Not only that, like you said, 2%, the rates go up with this stress test. It's going to change people's buying power, which if interest rates do continue to go up, which through this stress test, they're obviously anticipating interest rates to continue to go up as the economy opens and everything comes back flourishing quite well. So we could be in a little bit of a situation next year where it could be actually change into a bit of a buyer's market due to where our prices have exponentially gone up.
Well,
I'd like to sorry, go ahead.
Things have to change. The market always changes, right? Like people, that's the big question right now. Is the market, are we in a bubble? Is the market going to burst? The market's always changed. It's never stayed the same. So whether you look at a spring market to a summer market to a fall market, or 2008 to 2010, 2015, 2016, 17, like it's always changing, right? So the one thing nobody can predict is what next year is going to be, but I can tell you that it's not going to continue, and it already hasn't. Like when you look at the average and median pricing, over the last 4 months, it's done what we all thought. It's leveled right off. Yep. So now instead of like the market, the average price in St. Catharines for detached, I think it was, jumped from like 570 to 630 from December to January this year. And that's 10% jump in 1 month, which is, you know, incredible, but it hasn't wavered much from there. I think it's 622 year to date. So it hasn't wavered much from there on a monthly basis since. And I think a lot of markets in Niagara are the same thing. The prices did this, you know, steep climb and now found their altitude, and that's where they're sitting. So I don't know, that that's what scares me too with the month over month reports and yearly reports and everything else, because everything is so not artificially, but so out of sorts as far as, you know, month to month activity, that you're going to get these numbers that are, you know, 80% this and negative 30% that, and that's continuing on now. But if anything, what we're seeing now, and all the numbers show it, is that the new listing inventory is back to somewhat normal for the month of May, as opposed to being 40 or 50% higher than normal, which was April and March. So new listing inventory is sort of normal. It's going to be plus or minus 2, 3, 4% above normal, but pretty close. But sales are still going to be 20, 24% higher than normal, as instead of 50% higher than normal. So things are settling, pricing is leveling off, things are going to become more predictable, which, you know, I think at this point we would take a bit of predictability, right?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I think some sellers would appreciate that. A lot of the sellers who are kind of entering the market now, from what I'm talking to, they're okay not getting the crazy multiple offers. A majority of them are like, okay, I'm entering the market. Shawn, what's my house worth? And I'm actually referring to it at Pat when I meet with them. I said, we're transitioning to old school real estate, where you price your house at a price, and guess what? You may get conditions. You may not get your asking price, but you're going to get a fairly decent offer still. And guess what? The majority of people are like, Shawn, if you tell me to list my house at this and I'm going to get this, huh, I'm good. Thank you very much. That's crazy. You know, what would my house have been worth last year? Not what we're discussing this year, you know? And then they have the opportunity now to go out and buy and maybe not have to go crazy guns a-blazing on these multiple offers. So it's all relative in a sense. And the key thing is to understand too, is that, you know, interest rates really kind of fired up what was going on through this COVID market and the COVID opportunities, wanting change and all that. But one thing that is not going to disappear is the demand. There is going to be continuous demand for homes in Niagara. There's going to be little ebbs and flows. Interest rates next year may cause a little bit of a change. But at the end of the day, once we get through COVID, immigration is going to still be guns a-blazing. Toronto will still continue to grow. The spillout will still come to the outlying suburban areas. And, you know, the millennials are all going to be entering the market. So there'll always be strong demand. Like, you know, Pat, like when we sit there and we're meeting with people and that people's houses are still selling within a week, like that's phenomenal. You know, go back to 15 years ago when we kind of first started, Pat. And yet, personally, I'll be honest with you, I didn't even like listing houses. It was tough. I'd way rather take a buyer out and sell the buyer a house because the conversations you had to have with Shawn, we haven't had a showing in a month. What's wrong? What's going on? Why aren't you marketing the property? But it's not that. That's where the market was. And here we are today still putting a property up in a week. We're complaining that the sellers are complaining that they're only getting 6 showings, let alone of those 6 showings, you're getting an offer and it's a good offer. So, you know, there still is good times ahead. I personally think we should all welcome this balance, this nice little reprieve. I think it could come at a better time for all of us with the nice weather coming. I love selling houses, but I am
Shawnee likes the summer.
Exact same way as everybody else. It has been one hell of a long year and a half. And I think everyone needs to just chill out, relax, and really enjoy the nice weather. You know, I personally am going to consider this my own personal lockdown for nice weather and try and hide out from the world and just enjoy life. And I do really feel from the consensus I'm kind of feeling out there. You know, I listed a few properties last week, both at $699.9. I didn't get a showing for the first 3 days on either of them. I'm biting my nails. I'm like, oh my God, the sky is falling. The market's crashing.
Paper bag?
Yeah, hyperventilating. You know what? But guess what? My sellers were aces. They're like, oh, Shawn, the weekend was beautiful. We weren't anticipating any showings. We didn't want to even have people at our house. We were enjoying the backyard. But then sure enough, during the week, got a couple random showings, 2 offers, both houses sold, you know? And again, expectations were prepared, sellers were happy, and that's kind of where it's at. So, you know, I certainly am welcoming what's going on. The sky is definitely not falling. It is what it is. It's just balancing, which is nice for all of us.
So case in point out and I know there's a lot of agents that have joined the business in the last year or two that have no idea what normal is, because I can tell you this is as far from normal as you can get. So year to date in St. Catharines, the days in the market are 12, which is outrageous, right? And without delayed presentation of offers, you could probably have that, right? But going back, I just pulled it up here, going back to like 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, it was a month and a half to 2 months on average. So, right?
Exactly.
So that's the average house taking, and that's when you did 3 open houses and you had a showing here, a showing there, and you get a deal and it dies because the wind changed direction and they didn't like the home inspection, and then you get another offer. So right now, I was saying to somebody earlier, right now, things that used to take this long are taking 1/10 of the time. So when you have a listing or whatever the process is, it's sort of like a pressure cooker, right? And it's happening in an exponentially less amount of time. But when things go wrong, it feels 10 times as bad. because it's so tight, right? The showings happen in this amount of time. The seller's expectations, everything's heightened, as opposed to, like you mentioned, the older days. And I've never
Old
been
school real estate.
yeah, I've never been one for sitting around and romancing the older days. Like, it is what it is, right? But in those older days, it was a different process completely.
Absolutely. You know, and it's funny, Pat, I always say to my clients, especially when you do the hold offer presentation and you do it for 5 days and they get 30 showings and they get 8 offers. I'm like, guys, what we just accomplished in 3 days
Yeah,
used to take me 6 months going back 10, 15 years ago. It's like,
yeah,
you know, it's like even in 6 months, sometimes you got 8 showings and you didn't even
yeah,
get up to the 10 showings because my good old Jerry Hendricks taught me the rule: 10 showings, no offers, price is too high. That was the
yeah,
deadline. After 10 showings, if you did have an offer, call the seller, hammer them on the price. It's
yeah.
time for a price reduction. We had to get to 10. And sometimes after 6 months, you couldn't even get to the 10 to hammer them on the price.
So Doug Rempel taught us, Jimmy and I, the 21 rule. It was 21 days or 21 showings. Whatever happens first, if there's nothing, and this is back in 15 years ago, right? And so if 21 days passes or 21 showings and nothing significant happens, you got a problem with price. So,
Yeah.
yeah, same kind of concept.
You know, and now sellers are concerned after a week and no offer. They're like, oh my God, is it priced too high, Shawn? And this and that. It's like, just be calm, be patient, be wait, you know, because the buyers are going through a major transition with all of this as well, right? I mean, I'll tell you this, I've been out showing some properties. You can instantly see the shift in the buyer's thoughts, where, let's all be fair, during January and February, we could have listed a house with poop all over the walls, pasted in poop, and we could have sold the house, probably 10 multiple offers, and that's that. And people wouldn't even batted an eyelash at the poop on the walls. Well, now
Thanks for
you're
the
going out
visual,
and
by the way.
showing.
That's great.
But now you're going out and showing, and it's like, oh, Shawn, look at the baseboards. I'm going to have to replace all the baseboards and this. I don't know. I think the price is too high, or I got to do work. Whereas buyers didn't even acknowledge the work they would have had to do before. They're now starting to think rationally again. And that's a nice thing for a buyer to be able to do that.
Yeah.
They know they have options out there. They know that there's good options coming. The one thing is, though, I am also preparing my buyer expectations a little bit, though, saying, okay, you know what? Yes, there are these options. But when that gem comes up, there still is a lot enough demand that if you're being a little more cautious and picky, the other buyers are doing that too. So no matter what, the nice houses that are listed that you're going to want, there's potentially 3 to 8 other people are going to be wanting it as well. So you will be competing. So I do think if people are willing to still compromise a little bit, go for that house that needs to have the baseboards replaced and stuff. But guess what? If they're asking $699, offer them $685, you might get a deal done. And then you have some opportunity to do the fix-ups and everything like that for yourself. So I am totally noticing buyers' mentalities changing. A majority of sellers are coming around as well. There still is a little greed factor, I think, with some of them. That they certainly missed the boat and they feel entitled to it, but that's normal. That happened in 2017. Honestly, Pat, I think this summer is going to roll right into a summer that we had in 2017, where it's price the houses higher, do the 48-hour irrevocable, wait it out, prepare your seller. If you get 2 or 3 offers and get multiple offers, high fives and handshakes, you know, and you're going to maybe get 20, 25 over. Otherwise, if you get an offer within 10 days, $10,000 of your asking price, high fives and handshakes. You did really well. You're okay. It's fine, you know? And so...
But whenever we've seen this in past markets where it's heavily weighted in one person's favor, as soon as the needle starts to go the other way, whoever's at the mercy of the other side, as soon as they feel that power grab, like you said, you hear different words, you see everything change, right? So when we've been in this heavy sellers market, as soon as a buyer starts to reclaim some of that, being on the front lines of the business as realtors, it's super interesting to see that, because all of a sudden seller conversations change, And then as soon as they're nervous, and then that's when you see balance start to come back. And the same thing
Yeah.
when it was, you know, when you look back in 2015, the days in the market went in half in 1 year. So that was a market when the buyers had all the control. And as soon as the sellers started to regain control, and then all of a sudden they started to call the shots, right? So I think we're in that part right now where the needle's shaking a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of the other challenges too that I'm kind of running into a little bit when dealing with sellers, not buyers in particular, but more sellers, is their realtor friends. Hashtag not realtor friends, but friends who think they're realtors, talking to them about the market and sharing their thoughts and this and that. And they're talking 2 months ago about the market when it was hyper intense. They're not feeling the shift that us as realtors who are living and breathing it every day. They're talking because of a scenario where they heard their friend sold their house 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. And we have to remember, in the general public's eyes, they think 2 months ago it's still the same. Like, they don't mm-hmm. understand how quickly a market can shift just like that, right? So, 100%. You know, I kind of ran into a situation on one of my listings where, you know, it wasn't listed very long. We got a reasonable offer, very close to asking price. They're on the fence. Shawn, can we get more? We didn't have many showings. They're listening to friends, different things like that. I said, listen, your friends aren't living it. You've seen the activity that we've had. It is petering out a little bit, you know, and so that's one thing I'm running into is everyone's kind of listening to the peanut gallery as well. And the peanut gallery's kind of caught up 2 months ago, and they're not caught up to where we're at now.
And it's difficult pushing back against that and not sound like a dick, right? Like your friend's wrong, I'm right. You listen to me. But that's so correct, because even people that have a cousin who's an agent in Pickering, and they could be amazing, but I don't know anything about Pickering. I don't know the nuances of their market, and no different than vice versa, right? Like you said, like 2 months ago, our market, there was the number of sales were 80% higher than the average for the month of March historically. 80% higher. Now this month is going to be about 11% higher. So that's 22% higher. So that's big, right? So if you're comparing what happened 2 months to right now, it's apples and tennis balls. Not quite apples and oranges.
Absolutely. And some of the general public still kind of caught up thinking the market's where it was then. And unfortunately, they're not living what our clients are right this second. Yeah. And, you know, so we got to just kind of encourage and help people understand where it's at for sure.
So the other one, St. Catharines, 300 to 500,000 detached. So sort of first-time home buyer central, right? And I think I've got a few of my favorite clients in here that are in that range as well. The one thing because we've talked about that, I think, monthly since we've been doing this thing. So I just took a look back over our previous talks that we did, and nothing's changed in that market, incredibly. So looking back the previous 30 days from now, 30 days before that, 30 days before that, the number of sales were roughly 50 to 60. So 2 a day. The asking price was between 404 and 409 grand on average. The sale price was within $1,000 on average for 120 days, for 90 days in a row, 444 grand, 443. So 109, 111% of asking, you know, since March 1st. So, you know, when we're talking to people about that end of the market, it's tough, and the stress test makes it a little bit tougher, right? Because all of a sudden that market sustained itself consistently week in and week in and week in and week out.
Yeah, and honestly, there is opportunities out there now for those people who are looking in that price point as well. And again, I think really though, if they kind of lessen their expectations, get a little house. I personally think the opportunity in that lower price range right now is to get the house that needs a little bit of work, because in the end, those lower price ranges, no matter what, will always be a scorching market. Like Pat, I'll tell you this, I personally don't see us going back to a market where we actually carry a listing for 6 months or still yet a very, very long time. Agreed. You know, those markets where you and I started out, and, you know, it was that is gone. Like everyone's got to realize, you know, we're in these hyper intensified things, but there is still such great demand for our market that, you know, our market will be strong. It's just this craziness might not be about us. And again, it seems like maybe we're going to be going through a 3-year trend that every 3 years we hit a spot where, again, it's like, okay, boom, it's going to be a hyper intensified market for that year. And then it kind of peters out. Who knows? But 2017, 2020, 21.
Yeah.
Now we'll take a little reprieve. We'll see what comes 2024 after the economy's back open and everyone's working and everything's rocking and rolling. So,
there's a question on a listing being up for $1 on Lakeshore Road West, and there was another one that we all know about in town where they dropped the price by about 60%. And we all had probably 3 or 4 clients call us and saying, "Oh my God, you got to get us into that place." And then you find out that they actually want double what the asking price is. You know the one I'm talking about.
I do. And that puts you in a very precarious spot.
Yeah.
When you drop it that low and your seller wants that, like that's not the proper way to do business. Yeah. It's inappropriate. It's not fair to the buyers. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Did you have that? So how did your conversation go with a buyer about that property? Because I can tell you what mine was repeatedly. It was the same one.
Well, I prefer not to fully express it right on the thing. But anyway, it went more along like this. That is absolutely silly. The sellers put them in a position that they will never get what they want because their house is too low. And the people are like, well, how is that fair? How can they do that? Well, unfortunately, a seller can do whatever they want.
That's right.
And I said, but really, are they putting forth the best effort to sell their house? Buyer's like, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Shawn, why would I price my house at that price? But if I want that price, why would I do that? If I want that price, why don't I just price it there? Exactly. Fair enough. It's a strategy that agent tried using. Yeah. I personally think they're probably kicking themselves in the butt because of all the calls and the tough conversations they have to have. Yeah. And then as far as the 99-cent listing, it's comical. It's amusing. And I think the person who's doing it is really just doing it to have fun because they just don't care. And it's going to be fun to watch. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, though, kudos to this guy because we could have all listed our houses 3 months ago at 99 cents. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we were doing with our pricing. If a place was $399.9 and sold for $525, what's the difference between putting it at 99 cents and that $399.9? You know, that $399.9 value wasn't protecting our seller by any means because they weren't going to accept that $399 anyways.
Yeah.
So really, you know, it's just, I mean, do I suggest people pricing their houses for $1? Absolutely not, especially with the shift going on. But seeing that this is a person's own property, kudos to you, man. Have fun. I love to see your results. And it kind of is what it is there.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like at the end of the day, the sellers call the shots, and it's up to the agent if they want to play the game or not, right?
Yeah.
And so in that case, it's his own house, and if that's what he wants to take a run at, then go nuts. But the good thing is those are outlier cases. I think the vast majority of what we're seeing out there is a rational sort of level-headed approach that allows somebody to at least hang their hat on what's going on, as opposed to
and these outlier approaches will diminish. Like when we're going into a balancing market, you and I can both agree those aren't the plays to make. And again, personally, I feel that now with the balancing, let's all just do everybody a favor. Price the houses higher. It's favorable for the buyers. It lets it helps us easier to compare seller expectations. And you know what? It could actually really calm things for us all as realtors, and we can all have a really nice summer.
Yeah, when you look at the St. Catharines market, not to dwell on St. Catharines, but it produces the most sales in any given year, so I always look at it. But for like 7 or 8 years in a row, the average sale price was like 99.5 to 99.7% for all those years in a row. And that's what that was the bread and butter of this market. It was like Jim used to call it a gentle wave, right? Year in and year out, churning out the same sort of trends. And so now this 108, 109% for the entire market thing is because to some extent outliers, to some extent underpricing, heatedness and all that. So as we level off, it'd be nice to get back to, well, as pricing gets more appropriate, it's not going to be 109% of asking anymore, right?
No, and the reality is through summer, we could actually see prices somewhat through this balancing actually, in a sense, somewhat decrease potentially 10% because people aren't getting the heightened multiple offers. Say you priced your house at $679.9 and you got $850. Well, now we can agree at $850 is probably you're not going to get that, but yeah, you could price your house at $749.9. Maybe get the multiple offer, but to get close to that. So with that being said, it's going to kind of come down slightly, you know? So
and you're still getting more than you could have ever fathomed you would get as of 8 months ago.
Right? Thank you very much, Pat. And that's my whole point. And that's where sellers have to realize, hey, you kind of missed the boat, but you didn't.
The boat's sitting right there.
Here. It's still here. You're still like, listen, I'm telling you, we can list your house for $749.9. If you would have talked to me last year, it would have been, $629.9. So come on, you're still doing well. And especially if you're going out and buying again, congratulations. You're not paying $150,000 over the asking price. You're going to get what you're going to get for your house. You're going to pay what you got to pay for your house. And welcome back.
I think I'm right. I think I'm right when I say this. The average sale price of a house in St. Catharines for the month, I don't think it cracked 600 until this year, and I don't think it's gone below 600. So case in point, even as of November, December last year, even if the market dropped 10% tomorrow, we're still where we were 6 months ago.
Oh, 100%.
That's
100%. 100%. Absolutely. Values are still good. Niagara's hot still, It will be interesting. I agree with you though, Pat. I am not feeling the sense that a surge of demand is quite coming. I mean, there'll be the demand I think we have now. I think you hit the nail right in the head. People who want to buy are coming out and buying anyways. People who want to sell are listing anyways. I can tell you this, I don't think anyone's waiting to sell for summer now saying, hey, when the lockdown's over, the conversations I'm having with sellers, everyone's ready to go. Let's list.
So I'm a buyer and I'm weary. I've been dragging around for 2.5 months trying to find something. What do you say to me?
What I say to you?
Yeah, and I'm looking at that entry level point.
What I say to you is this. I say, well, do you want to enjoy your summer or do you want to buy a house?
I want to buy a house,
if
Shawn.
you want to buy a house, this summer might be your opportunity because there's going to be a lot of people mellowing and enjoying things.
Yeah.
And your opportunity to get into the market and get a house is probably now.
Yeah, I like that. That's my theory too, is sort of hang on, because when everybody else goes to the sidelines or goes to whatever our version of Cabo is, that's when you might find you can slide into something that says offers anytime. It's a Wednesday at 7 p.m. You go in and you got a house by 9 o'clock, right?
Absolutely.
Another question from the studio audience, and we've all seen this and dealt with this and been frustrated by it. When it comes to a listing, they're having an offer date, but they also say that they'll present preemptive offers. How can it be both? Seems unethical.
So fair enough to that. I'm not the biggest fan of that either. I feel if you're going to hold offers, just hold offers and wait. If you're not going to, if you're kind of wanting to look at offers anytime, do a 48-hour irrevocable. You still can get the offer, hold it for 2 days. But obviously what's going on is agents are all feeling the shift. And what they're trying to do is, I think that's one way of somewhat, Pat, kind of preparing seller expectations, saying, all right, we're going to price it here and do the hold offers. But if you want that scorching offer, we better put it out there that maybe we'll look at offers earlier. And maybe that person who's lost out or drastically wants a home right away might come in and bring, and if you notice, some of them are even going now that seller reserves the right to look at a cash offer anytime. But we'll look at offers on May 31st.
So Sinjin L said it, and that this is the issue, is it creates mistrust and frustration, right? And
100%.
so for those that don't know, the 28-second summary of it is there's a document that a seller signs that says we're going to look at offers on Wednesday at 4 p.m. And then there's a line under that says no conveyance. Conveyance meaning transmission of, notification of. I can't tell you. So your house is up for 500 grand. We're doing offers Wednesday at 4. It's Monday. I get an offer for 600 grand. I can't tell you about it. There's a no conveyance thing in it. So we set up the rules. The game's going to be 9 innings long. Doesn't matter what happens between. It's going to be 9 innings long. You can't call the game at 6 innings, and that's what the preemptive thing is, right? And so some people are also writing in. So I want column A, but I also want column B, and then some are also adding column C by saying yes, we'll take preemptives, and then we also want 2 days to respond, but we're also doing offers on Wednesday. Yeah. And so yeah, that creates frustration because you don't know what the rules are, right? Where's the sidelines of the field, and it's at least the only silver line, or the only upside of it is when people at least write it in, so you know what the rules are. It's the people that don't write it into the listing I have a huge problem with. That It just says we're doing offers Wednesday at 4. That's it. Great. Hey buyer, let's go look at the house. Go talk to your mortgage person. Don't worry, we can do a pre-inspection tomorrow. We got time. You want to talk to your uncle, talk to your uncle. And then 9 o'clock at night, thanks for your interest. Just this to notify you the seller just accepted the property sold. That's a huge problem.
So I agree with you on that, Pat, is that there's a couple approaches. So I have a couple buyers that call me up. They see the property listed. They're like, instantly, what's the offer rule, Shawn? It's like, okay, it's a 48-hour irrevocable. Okay, let's get in there right away. They're holding offers till June 4th. No preemptive offers. Okay, I can take a rest. I don't have to jump in there right away. Shawn, they're doing June 4th. Seller can look at preemptive offers. Oh, I better get in there. But then you're right. There's the ones that don't say anything. And if they don't say anything, some of my buyers who are the investor guys are like, well, if it doesn't say anything, Shawn, send my offer in with a 24-hour irrevocable right now and see what happens. And a lot of agents, because they don't say that they're not looking at preemptive offers, or that they won't look at preemptive offers, that they don't say anything, they're taking preemptive offers. So I do agree that no matter what, if you're good, you should either say, we'll look at preemptive offers or no preemptive offers. Clearly stated in there with what's going on, But in the end, the hold offers, the 48-hour irrevocable is honestly the way to play it's going to. It's really...
Okay, so, but if you're going to do offers next Wednesday, but you'll also take preemptives, why the hell aren't you just take offers? Or do your 48?
Exactly, 48-hour irrevocable. That's it. If you're going to hold off, because you know what? A lot of agents, what ends up happening is this, Pat. You're doing the hold offers. I think agents, they're nervous of the way it's going to go with the hold offers.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And so next thing you know, you're doing the hold offers, and you only got 4 showings. You're going to get nervous, and you're going to be like, holy crap, I'm not going to have anything on the day of offers.
Yeah.
But then if you have a sidebar conversation with one of the agents, show and say, hey, look, bring something to the table early now. We can get a deal done or something, right? It's agents being nervous. But the one thing I know, and I think you being in the business as well, is one thing is there is a process in all of this. I mean, I know it's getting a little wonky all over the place, but there is a process in all of this. And if you trust the process,
100%.
It will be what it will be. And the process right now is really, if you still want to protect your client and potentially get them a multiple offer, the 48-hour irrevocable is the play. It lets people know that you're kind of open to offers at any time. It lets agents know that they can kind of bully preemptive you. How many times? 48-hour irrevocable. Shawn, if I bring you cash tonight, this number over the asking price, will you do the deal and not wait the 48 hours? Hell yeah, let's go. And, and then you don't have yourself in these precarious situations of having to call agents and do all these different things.
But that's the part that gets wobbly, right? Is because people will claim they have a 48-hour irrevocable per a 244, but you can't, the two don't go together. To quote Ricky Bobby, it's Chinese food and chocolate pudding. Right? Because you have to present the offer at the earliest opportunity. So if I give you an offer today at 4 o'clock and you want till, what day is it today? Friday? You want till Sunday at 4. If I send you an offer, I want to say, when are you going to present it? And I know there's a million variables to this, so it's impossible to nail down on this chat, but it's a very difficult process to go through, because as a buyer agent, I would say to you, and you've done this on your side, say, that's great, you want 48 hours, but I'm not going to give it to you.
Yep.
Right.
And that's a conversation every sellers.
Right.
But the key thing is that, it comes down to that. I personally, when I look at respecting the process, I work with buyers. I have buyers, and we know that this market has been very, very challenging for our buyers. Our sellers have been doing really well. But no matter what, Pat, if you list the property and you do the 48-hour irrevocable, I'm going to call you up and say, Pat, listen, can we do something? No, Shawn, we got some activity. My people are adamant. They want the 48-hour irrevocable. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to respect that. It's part of the process, because at the end of the day, Pat, me being an agent, I also understand and respect the fact that you're trying to do the best for your seller.
Right.
Okay? Yep. And that's what everyone needs to realize. Hey, don't get me wrong, buyers agents, I understand. This is my scenario. I always do it this way, Pat. I have a seller's hat and I have a buyer's hat.
Yep.
And when I get the agents who are super hot and aggressive and on me and this and that, my instant conversation is this. Whoa. Hey, listen. Beat up, your buyers beat up, you lost some houses. I get it. I said, you're wearing your buyer's hat. I was wearing my buyer's hat 3 days ago in a multiple offer situation. But I said, you got to understand, today I'm wearing my seller's hat. And if you were wearing your seller's hat, what would you want to do for your seller? Would you not want to make them the most amount of money possible? Because isn't that our job? Yes. And guess what? Instantly, offer comes, 48-hour irrevocable. They get it. And that's the whole point of respecting the process that I need. We all got to lay up on everybody. We got to all understand that, hey, it is what it is. And by trying to control and manipulate, it really, really is portraying us in a terrible, terrible light. There is, from the higher ups, talk of changes and this and that. And in all fairness, I don't blame it. With people paying other agents to get their offers accepted, I'm hearing stuff like that. Just the back talk and stuff, like it's getting a little out of control. And if everyone, to be honest, I almost think if they made 48-hour irrevocable mandatory, that a seller is not allowed to look at an offer for the first 2 days, done, and then offers can start or something. I don't know, but
and that goes back to what I was saying about variables, right? So if it's a Friday afternoon and you send me an offer and you say, hey, I can't give the 48. If I look at my appointments and I say, well, I've had 11 appointments in the last 36 hours and I have one booked tomorrow, then let's go, right? Versus you're my only showing and you want to ram an offer down now and I've got 11 showings booked tomorrow. Well, that's when, as a listing agent, you're going to make the call on what makes sense.
Exactly. And that's it. And put your trust in the process and the fact that you're going to do what's best for your client. And you're 100% correct. If I had 11 showings and I'm going to wait for one showing tomorrow, but I got a good offer now after 11 showings,
you'd be crazy.
I'm going to go with that offer and do it, because that's why I lose that in the potential, because the guy tomorrow most likely after 11 showings might not buy it. And we can all agree,
So there's a question for you on your wording then. So is it seller requires 48-hour irrevocable or seller requests 48-hour irrevocable?
Oh, seller requests, sorry. Seller requests.
See, I like that, because that's saying, look, this is what we like to do, but then you maneuver based on what the exact circumstances are at the time that I call you and say, Shawn, good news. When's the last time we did a deal, by the way? That's outrageous. Me and you. It's been a while, right?
It has been, I think.
That's disgusting. But so I like that. I like that though. So I call you and I say, I got an offer for you. You have the 48-hour, and then we talk. That's cool, because that was like the old days. Remember, everybody was on a cruise back when you wanted to get a 48-hour irrevocable. Oh, my sellers are up north and they got bad reception, so I need 2 days, right? Everybody was on a cruise.
Oh my! There's 2 family members I have to talk to. So
Yes.
no, you have to, yeah. Like, you know, and people, there still is that, because people still feel obligated sometimes to give an excuse of why they use the 48-hour irrevocable. I'll be honest with you. When agent asks me, well, what's the 48-hour irrevocable, Shawn? What's the 48-hour irrevocable for?
Yeah.
Well, it's for my seller. It's the market. It's for my, I'm straight up with the agent. I'm like, I'm doing it because you know where the market's at. I got 8 showings lined up over the next 24 hours. So I'm going to hold out. But like you said.
Yeah, I'm really glad we talked about this, because you've helped me as well. So I think the solution, or as things transition, where people are getting into trouble is, and we've talked about this before, they're saying offers next Wednesday and they're pricing it low. And like you and I talked about the other day, was 8 hours go by and you don't have any appointment requests, and all of a sudden you're freaking out. Your seller's texting you and says, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? Right?
Yep.
And then that's when panic station sets in. And as opposed to pricing it up, pricing it here and saying offers anytime, which doesn't work either, because you need to, if you're underpricing it, you need a line up at the door.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why underpricing in a transitioning market is a terrifying prospect, because
100%. Absolutely.
there's so much margin.
You're leaving yourself at the mercy of the buyers. You're leaving, and I talk to my clients, I'm like, do you want to be at the mercy of pricing your house low, maybe only getting 2 offers and only getting 20 grand when you're expecting 80? Or how about we price it here where you would like to expect to get, and see what happens? And everyone is leaning towards that option. They're feeling it. I mean, you know, you're listing property, showing stuff like that. What time are we at, Pat?
Yeah, we're a hard stop in 3 minutes.
Okay.
So then the other option then is pricing it appropriately, requesting the 48-hour irrevocable, and maneuvering based on the current situation. If the listing's been up for 7 minutes and somebody brings you an offer, 9 minutes into the listing, and you've got 13 showings booked tomorrow, then with my seller's hat on, I'm gonna get you a hat made. It's gonna be Shawnee's seller's hat and the buyer's hat.
There you go.
Right, and then that gives you the wiggle room you need in order to protect your sellers, but also play nice with the buyers.
100%, because the fact of the matter is too, in this market now, your hot buyers, the buyers who are going to give you the most amount of money, are coming in within the first 24 to 48 hours. And there's not a lot of hot guns and blazing buyers. There's buyers now who are coming to see a house 5 days later. And they're still a hot buyer, but they're not feeling that aggression of the market anymore. And you know what? They're not feeling bad about a house selling on them anymore. Oh, it sold before I could see it. Okay, don't worry. We'll get the next one, Shawn. You know, it's really opening up and widening up for all of us. So it's great.
We're going to put a button on this, buddy. But can we announce what we're going to do in June? We don't have confirmation yet. Maybe we should.
We don't have confirmation, but if you want to announce it, we can, because we'll put it out there. Is JB around you?
No, he's not allowed to come in Friday mornings until 11 o'clock.
Okay.
You know what? Let's put it out there, and then if they say no, we can use public peer pressure to make it happen.
Perfect.
So we're going to take a hiatus in July and August. So episode 6 will be the last Friday of June, which is the 25th. And we're going to do a 4-person session, and it's going to be joined by our partners, Jimmy Broderick and Terrence Davids, with Shawn. So there'll be 4 of us on. Neither of them know about it, nor have they committed to it. But that's where
we'll work.
We got 4 weeks. We got 4 weeks.
We got 4 weeks.
Yeah.
That's it, for sure.
So that'll be fun. That'll be good.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, buddy, appreciate it. As always, have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch, brother.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Ciao.
Bye.